Greetings and welcome to lucky episode number 7 of Zooming into Focus, a podcast that explores and highlights the research and training developed by the Virginia Commonwealth University Rehabilitation Research and Training Center on the employment of persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities project. I'm your host, as always, Lucian Friel from VCU RRTC. Today we are joined by Troy Carter. Troy is a 2018 graduate of VCU's ACET in College program. He earned a certificate of education, and while he attended, some of the classes he took were urban planning, arts, communication, and self-defense, just to name a few. Troy joined the VCU RRTC team in May of 2024 as an office assistant, and he steadily gained new roles and responsibilities with RRTC projects. When Troy is not working, he enjoys painting, going to the movies and concerts, playing video games, WWE, and watching the Virginia Tech Hokies football team, Brooklyn Nets, and the New England Patriots. Troy is now a communications assistant here at RRTC and also a research assistant on this RRTC IDD project. And today, Troy is going to tell us about his journey to employment, the successes and barriers along the way, and we're going to get his take on the 5 studies of the project. Welcome to the podcast, Troy.
Hey, Lucian, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so we got you actually up in the studio. This is you're the first one, I think, at least for this podcast, to actually be physically in the studio. So it's good to have you here.
It's an awesome setup. I love it.
So as I was introducing you, I had mentioned, that one of your favorite sports teams was the Patriots. So I will say I'm
Yeah.
sorry about the Super Bowl, but at least you guys got there, right?
Yeah, and as I tell everybody, he's a young quarterback. We're gonna get there.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
has time.
Nowhere to go but further up, right?
Yep. And
Yeah.
I'm
So
happy with the coach, Mike Vrabel. He really turned this whole team around. So I'm happy for that.
awesome. Yeah. So yeah, and for those of you that don't, yeah, obviously you're not sitting at your desk right now, but Troy has you have a bunch of like the sports team stuff up there. And you've really made your desk your own space, which is really good. So yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that when I decorated my desk, I wanted to say me. I wanted to express myself without telling people what I'm into. So when they see my desk, they'll know what stuff I like. And that's why I did it.
That's all. Do you find that that's like a common conversation starter a lot of times?
I think so, yeah. I want to get people to be more relaxed. That was the
Yeah,
goal for that.
yeah, and your office is pretty centrally located in the office, so I think most people pass you pretty frequently.
Hmm.
And so you feel like they come up to you or feel more comfortable coming up to you when you have all your your personal stuff up.
I think so. Like I said, it's an awesome, um, when they see that, they want to talk about stuff that they're into as well. Like I remember the guy was coming to my office and he saw my little Spider-Man Miles Morales pop-up figurine, and he's a Spider-Man fan, so we just talked, nonstop about the movies and other different things.
Nice, excellent. So we talked a little bit about your hobbies and sports stuff. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Where you grew up, where you went to school, things like that?
Okay. So I'm gonna start at first when I was born. I was born in Henrico Doctors. So I am currently right now from Richmond, Virginia slash Henrico. Um, I was born in 1997, and my hobbies include professional wrestling, um, sports that I like. Of course, number one up there is basketball. Second will be football. And then if you can count this as a sport, I already said I like professional wrestling. NASCAR. If you count NASCAR as a sport, I'm a fan of NASCAR as well.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah, I see that, you've got as we talked about the stuff on your desk, you've got like the race cars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, if anyone wants to know about Troy, you just take a look at your desk.
Oh yeah. And
Uh,
they'll know that I'm really into Hot Wheels as well too. So
oh yeah. Oh yeah. So tell us a little bit about, when you graduated from high school, what were your thoughts on employment? Like, did you want to jump right into work? Did you want to go to school? Like, what was your sort of thought process when you graduated high school?
At first, I really wanted to go back. Well, not say back to school. I really wanted to go to school. I really wanted to go to college. But unfortunately, growing up, they told me I couldn't go despite the issues that I had. And that kind of broke me down a little bit because I really wanted to go to school. I wanted to go to college and further my education. Not only that, but to see what career jobs I want to get in the future to get a better, I'm not gonna say a better life, but a good way for me to just prove everybody wrong that yeah, despite me having a disability, I can live a normal life just like everybody else.
Absolutely. And so what helped you kind of break through that barrier of, people saying, well, you can't go to college? What helped you get going into the ACIT program?
It was help from my aunt, and we had to keep searching for schools that will allow me to attend to just take regular classes. And luckily, we found VCU ACIT, and we applied to it. And the person at the time, his name is Seb, I guess looked at it and he wanted to meet me in person along with the rest of the old ACIT team. And I did my first interview with them and I talked to them a little bit about myself. And then they was like, okay, well, we'll let you know when we're ready to see you again. And until next time, we'll give you a call to say you came in. So I was checking the mail the next day. And once I checked the mail the next day, I saw that I officially been applied to VCU RRTC, and I was very happy and excited. Told this to my mom, told this to my rest of my family. Of course we celebrated, went to my favorite restaurant, and it was just a dream come true.
Nice. I mean, that sounds like a big highlight there. I'm right there with you. When I got accepted to VCU, I was through the roof. So I'm right there with you, feeling that excitement. Yeah. Okay. So from there, you had taken some of your interest courses in college when you were in ACIT. What were some of your favorite courses? I know we listed them off when I introduced you, but I know you had like urban planning and arts and communications and self-defense, but like what kind of stuck out to you where you're like, whoa, this is this really has my interest.
Really, it has nothing to do with any of the classes. It's actually the job that I took within ACIT, which was video editing and photography and animation. That really blew my mind of that. Yes, I'm a big fan of art, but I think it got a little bit further because I love art, but I also realized that I found out that I also love technology. And then when you mix two together to create something, that just blew my mind. And I didn't even know you can have a job like that as a career, me being an art guy.
That's awesome. So you were in an internship or it was a job?
It was an internship.
Internship? What were
Yeah.
you doing on the internship?
I was making flyers and this is the Reserve Bank, Richmond Reserve Bank. I
Okay.
was making flyers for them. I was making posters for them, and I was enjoying it. I was making art CDs for them that they needed for their clients, and it was just an awesome experience.
And so that kind of locked you in then on your sort of love for technology. Did you think that beforehand, like going in, that you were gonna take to technology like that, or was it just, something you didn't expect and then you experienced it?
I didn't expect it. To me, I think it was just me just enjoying the ride for what it was because I was having fun with it. I didn't even see it as a career. I mean, as a job. I just saw it as something I really enjoyed waking up in the morning and just learn more new things about it. Same thing with this job right now. I wake up and I get to love what I'm doing.
That's a good place to be. I think anybody listening right now is probably nodding their heads in that something that you can wake up and be excited about. So after you graduate from ACIT, What was the next thing that happened for you? I mean, did you go right into work? Did you get an employment specialist? How did you kind of transition out of college?
When I positioned out of college, I went straight for work. So I went to the workforce and I had a job at the Richmond Tourism Company, which I
Okay.
really enjoyed too because they had a lot of different activities for me to do, and I love to go out and do a lot of fun stuff. So I think that was just a fun job for me. It's more of a learning experience for me.
And you and I talked about this. You were in that job up until COVID, right?
Yes, unfortunately, I was let go.
That's unfortunate. I know a lot of people experience that, and I'm sorry that you did experience it. I'm glad that it eventually led you to us, though, because it's great having you on the team. But yeah, I'm sorry that you had to experience that. So how did that impact you? Like, did you not work for a while, and was just looking, or did you kind of like wait out sort of the lockdowns?
I was just off of work for a while until my parents told me, listen, I know everything's going on right now, but you got to get a job. And unfortunately, I found something, but it was something I just didn't enjoy, didn't like. I had a job working at the
You don't have to say the name if
warehouse.
you didn't like it.
I'm just gonna say warehouse.
Okay, the warehouse. Okay.
And I just didn't. It just wasn't for me.
Okay. So then what sparked you just kind of were fed up with it. Did you have an employment specialist with you the entire time, or they kind of faded out, or did you go to their services kind of
I had
once
a
you realized you wanted a different job?
Yeah, I had a job coach at the time. And she was really well, but it's just the job was just not for me. Me being a creative art person type of guy, I feel like I was wasting my potential with a job that doesn't suit me.
Right.
And I had to do the most hardest thing I ever had to do. And I was gonna get a lot of discrimination by this. I was gonna get this from my parents. I was gonna get this from people that don't really understand me. So what I did is I let go of that job. I quit. And a lot of people just looked at me as like, why would you quit this job knowing that you were getting paid? And no one can understand the inside of me of what was going on. I had to let it go because it was for my better interest for myself.
Yeah. So that was a self-advocate moment for you, right? Like you self-advocated for yourself.
Lucian, I really didn't want to, man, because I didn't want to hear. I mean, I love my parents with all my heart, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's a big step though to kind of stand up and say, I don't like doing this, right? Like, um, I think we all kind of have to find that moment where we're advocating for ourselves and what we want to do with our lives, right?
I'm sorry.
And then okay, so then you're working with you decide, warehouse is a no-go. What led you here to RRTC, right? We're the next step on the list.
Well, actually, it was another job before y'all.
Okay,
I
okay,
had a
cool.
job, and my buddy, she helped me out getting this job. Unfortunately, it wasn't a good fit either. Leanne, who used to be my job coach or new
Hmm.
job coach,
Hmm.
she was awesome, and she was awesome helping me getting this job. But the job that we had before here was, I guess, we were trying to sell something outside, and again, that's just was not for me at all. So I had to tell Leanne that, yeah, that's a no go on this as well too. So I was a little out of luck with finding jobs at that time. But luckily we didn't give up. We searched up uh jobs at campuses because maybe there's a job that different schools will need a person like myself. And we saw that RRTC that y'all was hiring. So we are like, okay, let's go for it. Let's see what this job's talking about. And you may meet some old people that you used to know along the way. So we went on and applied, and luckily, with y'all, I got the call, and y'all wanted to meet with me and see how it goes. And I think it turned out pretty well.
I wasn't on the panel, but I heard you did very well on your interview. So.
Yeah, I remember it was Daniel, Terry, and Sebastian.
Yep, yep. They spoke very highly of you on that, and so obviously, I think they made the right choice because
Thanks.
it's definitely nice having you aboard. Now I want to kind of dive into something a little bit different. I want to get kind of your opinion on the five studies of this IDD project and where you think, some of this stuff is going to help. And you can speak to yourself personally and some of your personal experiences for some of this stuff. For study one, the team is looking at the effects of parent and peer mentoring on the employment for people with IDD. Have you ever had a peer mentor, or did you have a peer mentor kind of going along the way? If you did, how did it help? And if not, do you think it would have been something that you would have benefited from?
I had one person I could see that helped me a little bit as far as jobs go, and that was Leanne. She was a big help of getting me out of the negativity that I was going through, dealing with jobs that wasn't a good fit for me, upon other things. But as far as like a personal type of, I didn't have that at the time. But I would love to have it. Maybe it would have helped me along the way. But luckily I found someone similar to that, and that was, Leanne.
Okay.
So
So utilizing your job coaches as that sort of filling that gap of a mentor.
yeah.
What are some of the things you think you could have benefited from having a peer mentor, somebody with a disability that is sort of going through the same employment search that you were at the time?
I would say a sense of you can relate to the person because they're going through the similar same thing that you're going through upon other personal things. And being a person with a disability is not easy, living, with a disability because people don't understand it or they be ignorant about it and they don't treat you the respectful way that you need to be, treated. And I really would love for that to change. I mean, we're just like everybody else. We just learn differently, man. That's
Yeah.
all it is.
Jumping into study two, they're working to identify some employment aspects that enhance the quality of life in employees with IDD. How has having a job affected your life? Positive, negative, whatever the case may be.
I would say a little bit of both. Negative of 2020 COVID year, and then positive of this year because this is something I really love doing, and I love RRTC. I love this team, and I think this is a better fit for me if I do say so myself. And hopefully, maybe in the near future, as much as I love this company, I can see myself working somewhere a little bigger, maybe like a video game company or a movie company. We were just talking about that, I think, wait, not too long ago.
Yep.
And seeing how I'm a huge fan of movies, as people can probably see, I think that would be an awesome fit right there. Just helping out with either the animation side or the caption, where a guy or a person say something and it doesn't really quite fit. And I'm doing that right now, so I think
Right.
that would be a good fit.
We hope you're enjoying this edition of the podcast. If you have any questions for us, you can head over to idd.vcurrtc.org/ask to submit your questions. One of our technical assistance team members or our training team members will respond back to you. If you have questions about anything related to employment for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, you can submit it there. Or if you'd like to be connected to some of our different training options or some of our different resources, you can also ask your questions there. And now back to the podcast. How, like, outside of work has having a job sort of I can say we you and I went to a coworker's concert, right? So are you going to more aside from just that, like are you going to more social events? Do you find yourself interacting a little bit more with people?
I'm starting to go more on social events, and I'm getting kind of real personal here. Just meeting newer friends and, maybe potentially have, you know, a partner,
Excellent.
but I'm not rushing it, but,
No need to
uh,
rush.
yeah, I know. But I do want to go on a dating game, because I know it's been a minute, so I want to see where I'm at.
Now, like moving on to study three, this I think this is right up your alley, and I know that you've been helping this particular study a lot with the technology training and careers. I know you've been working with Pete a little bit on some of the technology parts of that.
Yeah, shout
Um,
out to Pete.
yeah, shout out to Pete. We're going to have him on in a couple of episodes talking about one of the courses that they've created and have run at least one cohort through and getting ready to run another cohort through. What technology have you found? I know we you talked about video editing and photography and things like that. What other technology have you found that you enjoy either like in your current job or on your journey to RRTC?
I would say the technology that helped me out a lot personally is either read out loud or speech to text. If there's a word that I don't understand or know it, it will literally search it and be like, "Oh yeah, it's this," and then it'll read it to me. Unfortunately, I still have trouble of reading, so I use that when it's very big words or very big you know, I'm sorry. When
That's
it's
right.
a big pronoun and I don't understand it, that's when I
Mm-hmm.
use speech to text or read
Okay.
out loud.
So that's an assistive technology that you've used.
Correct.
That's excellent. So that kind of leads me, we'll kind of get out of the study stuff for a minute. Like what are some of the supports that you had? And this kind of will go into like study five, but like, what are some of the supports that you had from your job coach, otherwise known as employment specialist? You'll kind of hear us interchangeably use that, but, what are some of the supports that were provided to you that has helped you succeed here at RRTC?
I would say some of the technology that I was introduced and even the apps that's on my phone. I think she played a very big role of me introducing to some technologies that can help me further not only my job but further in life. If there's a menu that's very big or the word that I don't understand, I'm gonna use that phone and it's gonna read it to me. I'll be like, oh, okay, that sounds pretty delicious. I'm gonna go ahead and get it. So I'm
Right,
gonna
right.
use that app, not just at work but my personal as well.
Oh,
And
okay.
if someone that doesn't really quite understand it, I would have to explain to them like, yeah, there's certain words or there are certain letters that I don't really know. So I use the app that will help me read it so that way it'll be registered in my brain. Unfortunately, I can't help it. It's just is what it is. I'm stuck with my disability till I go. So I can't do
Hey,
anything about
y-
it.
but you found something that has helped you and helped support you in your job, and I think that's a super positive thing. Well, yeah, that I mean that's great. You've had that assistive technology. Were there any sort of like supports outside of technology that your job coach provided you? Whether
I would
that
say
be
confidence,
confidence?
confidence in
Okay.
myself and knowing what I want, not selling for less. I think she was a big role in that as well too.
I can say this as someone that has worked with you. I think that if we had tried to do this podcast when you first started, I don't know if it'd be going as smooth as it is right now. I've seen you grow so much, and hats off to you. I think you are just continuing to get your confidence every day. Um,
Appreciate it.
yeah. So in study four, the team is creating sort of like a technical assistance and training model to improve employment opportunities for college students with IDD. In your experience, having gone from college into employment, what type of training and assistance helped you along the way? Whether that be in ACIT or kind of I know that we've talked about the assistive technology, but um, what type of training sort of in college helped you transition through?
I would definitely say ACID. ACID was number one to introduce me to technology way before. As much as I like Leanne, I think I was introduced it at an early age, and I think ACID was a big part of that. Seb, um, Jacqueline, everybody that really helped get me through where I'm at today. Because at that time I was in my early 20s back in those days, I didn't have the braids or, a beard. I was young.
Right. And you
So
joined the beard club.
thank you. I see mine's going. I can see yours going too. Looks nice.
Yeah, for those of you listening and not watching, Troy has a pretty good beard here.
I try to keep it maintained.
Yeah, yours is a lot more trim than mine is. I should probably take some grooming lessons from you there.
But yeah,
So yeah,
I'm sorry.
no, keep going.
I was just gonna say that and then Seb was a good impact in my life as well too. He helped me learn more about myself and and more of a personal level as well too when I was going through, some harsh times in that year. He got me to going to Maryland trip was awesome. He had me speak about ACID and about people with, intellectual disabilities that can go to college. And I speak a little bit more about that. And it was just a very awesome experience. Everybody that was in the ACID when I was going to school was just a big, huge impact. And I can't thank them enough. There's no words to describe. Like I just appreciate them for accepting me and getting me to the person I am today.
Some of the, we've talked about some of the supported employment services that you received along the way. In Research Study 5, the research is going to aim to increase the quality of supported employment services provided to people with IDD. Um, what what are some improvements that you feel? And this is not, this is of course not going to go. We're not talking bad about any of your employment specialists, but what are some of the things that you think overall that you've seen that could be improved upon? And what were some of the great things? If you don't, if there's nothing that you can think of that they need to improve, what were some of the positive things?
I say some of the positive things of a person treating you like a person and going to these certain different events, different events that's even around campus that sees you as a friend, not just as a you know worker or I'm not gonna say worker but a I don't know, I can't really explain it, but they see you as a friend. They want to hang out with you. They don't do it just for the job required. They do it because they starting to like you as a friend. They want you as a friend. That's just basically what it is. And
Right.
I feel like a person like myself need a social gathering. We need to have friends. We can't just stay to ourselves because trust me, I know when we keep to ourselves and have that isolation, it's not good for you. It's not good for you. Trust me, I've tried it. It is not good. You're gonna need friends. You're gonna need people in your life, whether that be
Well,
worker
yeah,
friends or college friends.
I mean I hear you on that too, and so that's interesting. So that was really important to you then to have sort of your employment specialist be more personable to you.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's good to hear, right? Like, so do you think other um, individuals with disabilities may kind of need that sort of more personable approach to supported
I,
employment?
I think so. You have some that don't mind being isolated, but you also have some that don't want to be isolated. So
Right,
it's kind of a mixed bag, so to
right.
speak.
So it's because I mean, part of the support employment process, right, is getting to know you and your likes and your interests. So
Exactly.
sounds like that would be, an important part of it. What were what were some of the ways that was it just kind of like a sit down, like
Yeah,
tell me
pretty
about
much.
yourself. What do you like?
No, I wouldn't say a sit down. It's just more of casual. Like when you meet a new friend, you go to a coffee shop or you go somewhere to get a bite to eat and you just get to know the person. I ain't gonna say it's similar to dating, but I guess in a way it's kind of like that. You're
Right.
putting yourself out there.
Yeah, getting to know the person. So, for somebody that might be hesitant or nervous about something like that, what's some advice that you would give to them for overcoming maybe those nerves they have about meeting their supported employment specialist?
The person is gonna like you for who you are. Don't try to be something that you're not, and to be yourself. Yes, you have a disability, but everybody in different shape or form has something that's an issue, but they're not going to let it stop them from living their life. And that's not going to stop me from living my life. I'm going to go to concerts. I'm going to go to hang out with my three best friends, and I'm going to do stuff for myself. Yeah, I'm not going to let it stop me from living.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And were you planning a WrestleMania trip, right? We talked about WWE.
Hopefully, my friend, he having some car issues, but hopefully we'll get there. And I have faith that we'll be there. If not this year, we're gonna try to go to some other wrestling event.
Excellent, excellent. I know you enjoy that, and you and I will have conversations about that.
Oh yeah, show you some pictures and all.
So, kind of diving back into the advice thing, like what's some advice that you would give to somebody with an intellectual or developmental disability that's looking for employment, that wants to work maybe, but like I don't want to say afraid, but hesitant to 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 take that step.
Find people who will help you along the way, whether that be a job coach, family, close friends, and don't give up. I know it's hard, but don't give up. You can do it. You just have to really dig deep and know what you really want to do in life. Life is short and life is precious. Um, and I hate to say this, but I was looking at a broadcast or something that somebody was saying, and basically was saying that life is not guaranteed to anybody. You can, wake up that day, but then not wake up the next. So life is short and life is precious. So treat every day like it's your last and live the best life that you can. So that means hang out with friends, put yourself out there. Yes, it's going to be uncomfortable, but you never know how the situation is going to be because you went for it and you did it. And you can be proud of yourself and look back and be like, yeah, I'm glad I did that. So just don't give up. I know it's dark and deep now, but it gets better. Trust and believe. I'm a beacon of that. It gets better.
Man, Troy, I don't think we can close out any better than that, right? I'm real quick though. I am gonna circle back and ask you one quick question. What are you looking forward to in over the course of time with this project?
I'm looking forward to it just getting better and doing the research will help people like myself can live a good, successful life that they want to live. Not having society say, "Oh, you need this job because, you can't do it." No, they can do it. They just need training like everybody else. If you give them a person that can work with them to train them, then it will go a long way. Trust and believe. So I would hope for this project that I can see it, elevate and move up. And I would love for people like myself to see them do jobs that they love to do, not just something that gave it to them because this is the only thing that they can do. No, I want something that they want to do as a career, because once they have that, you're gonna see the change, and the change is gonna be positive. It's gonna be positive, man. That's
Yeah,
all.
just when I thought it couldn't get any better, you dropped that line. So, Troy, I want to thank you so much for jumping on with this podcast and giving us your background, your experiences, and your insight into the research that's happening here. I think that people are really going to enjoy this particular episode, and you're a big reason for that. So I want to again thank you for jumping on. And if you don't mind, man, somewhere down the road, I think you hop on. Maybe you can host the episode. That'd be kind of fun, huh?
That would be awesome, man. Like I said, just
Give me a
teach me
little
to know how to
breather.
do it, and I'll be happy to do it, man.
All
Honestly.
right, all right, excellent. Yeah, you can give me a little break. All
Will
right, well,
do.
all right. Thank you so much, Troy.
All right, thanks, Lucian. Have a good one.
You too. And thank you all for joining us today. The contents of this podcast were developed under a grant from the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research, NIDLR grant number 90 RTE M0013. NIDLR is a center within the Administration for Community Living, the ACL, Department of Health and Human Services, HHS. The contents of this podcast do not necessarily represent the policy of NIDLR, ACL, HHS, and you should not assume endorsement by the federal government. Again, thank you for joining us.